Let me tell you, if you've ever thought that being just the secretary means you're invisible, you haven't met Emily Brooks. You know, I still laugh when I remember the look on Nathan Carter's face that morning like he'd swallowed a lemon whole. He's the type who thinks titles mean everything, and if you're not wearing a suit or shouting into two phones at once, you might as well be part of the wallpaper. He never once imagined the woman pouring his coffee had more degrees than half the boardroom combined. It's funny how you can spend years being unseen, and then, in a 10-minute window, everything shifts. Everyone finally sees what's always been there. The day started like every other Emily, juggling schedules, typing up agendas, and making sure the water in the boardroom was imported, because God forbid these investors taste tap. Nathan barked at her over his shoulder, not even glancing her way, and she bit her tongue like always. But there was something electric in the air that morning, like the building itself was holding its breath. Word had it a group of American execs, serious big shots, were flying in for a meeting that could land a multi-million-dollar merger. Everybody was on edge, mostly Nathan, who cared more about headlines than people. And then, 15 minutes before the meeting, the translator called in sick. Some kind of emergency. Suddenly, nobody in the entire company could bridge the gap between two boardrooms and a few $1 billion. The suits started to panic, and Nathan looked like he was going to blow a gasket. That's when Emily heard one of the Americans mutter, "God, I hope this isn't a waste of time." Her heart sank. She already knew how this would go. The boardroom was all glass and sharp edges, but inside, you could feel the tension. Nathan stumbling through his English, the Americans looking polite but lost, the silence stretching and getting heavier by the second. And then, just as one of the investors started to stand and say, "Let's reschedule," something snapped inside Emily. Before she could stop herself, she pushed open the door and walked in, tray and all. Heads turned. Nathan's face went pale like he'd seen a ghost. "What are you doing?" he hissed. And I mean, really, what could a secretary possibly know, right? But Emily just straightened her back and said, "Come as you please. I speak fluent English. I know the proposal. He typed it, prepped it. I can translate." Nathan tried to laugh it off, but one of the Americans just shrugged and said, "We're willing to listen." So Emily picked up the remote, clicked on the first slide, and just like that, she became the most important person in the room. She didn't just translate. She explained, adding nuance, context, pointing out details that weren't even on the slides. She moved between languages like she'd been born to do it. The Americans' posture shifted. They started to nod, to ask questions, to lean in. People gathered outside the glass walls, whispering, "Is that Emily?" like they were seeing her for the first time. And when it was all done, the lead investor stood up, shook her hand, and said, "Without you, this would have been a disaster." Nathan didn't say a word. He didn't even look her in the eye. But honestly, she didn't need his approval. For the first time, someone had listened, really listened. And you know what? The rest of the office felt it too. People started saying her name in the hallways. Karen from accounting looked at her with new respect. Even Daniel, one of the shy interns, asked for help writing an English email. Emily was no longer just the coffee girl. She was the girl who saved the deal. That Friday, a message landed in her inbox, not just a thank you, but a real invitation to review the investor proposal, to join meetings, to have a voice. Her name, bolded in the body of the email, right there with the big shots. Of course, not everyone celebrated. Nathan didn't say, much as pride stung, I guess, but he couldn't control the story anymore. One day, James Whitaker, head of international partnerships, stopped by and said, "Emily, we're reorganizing the team. I want you to consider joining us officially." She didn't answer right away. She's not the type to jump at the first offer. But her heart was pounding. It wasn't a promotion, not yet, but it was a door opening. Within 2 weeks, she moved her desk to the strategy team. The badge still said executive assistant, but now people asked her opinion before they made decisions. She listened, she observed, and when she spoke, her words landed with the weight of someone who's been paying attention for years. The whispers didn't bother her anymore. She was done asking permission to be seen. The month ended with a formal recognition dinner, one of those fancy events with speeches and awkward small talk. Emily almost didn't go, but something told her to show up. James gave a short speech about hidden talent and how sometimes the people who save you aren't the ones in the spotlight. Emily Brooks didn't just translate a meeting. He said she reframed how we see value in this company. The applause was genuine, and for the first time, she felt it wasn't just for show. The next morning, there was a note on her desk. "You deserve this." "Thank you." No signature, but the handwriting was Nathan's. She smiled and tucked it away, proof that sometimes even the stubborn ones come around. A few days later, a young intern, Samantha, stopped her in the hallway. "Is it true you started as a secretary?" she asked, eyes wide. "And now you're on the international team?" Emily just smiled and said, "It's not about where you start. If you keep learning and don't let anyone tell you who you're supposed to be, you'll get where you need to go." Samantha walked away beaming, and Emily realized sometimes the best thing you can do is let someone else borrow your courage. And wouldn't you know it, the next time a big client came in, they greeted Emily by name, remembered her from last time, and Nathan didn't even try to hog the conversation. Emily owned the room, not by being the loudest, but by being the most prepared, the most present. After the meeting, a veteran manager leaned over and said, "You ever think about leading your own project?" Emily just blinked, because for years she'd never even considered it. But now why not? So her title changed again, a little line on a badge that meant everything. She still made time for everyone: interns, new hires, even Nathan on a good day. She didn't need to climb over anyone. She just kept rising because nobody could deny her anymore. You know, at the next big company dinner, the head of operations said, "Sometimes the people we overlook become the ones who save us from losing everything." That applause felt warmer, more real, like maybe the whole room finally saw her, not just the role. The next morning, another note, this time, "Congratulations. You deserve everything that's coming." Nathan again. Small things, but sometimes small things mean the most. One day, they were alone in the elevator, just the two of them, and Nathan finally said, "I owe you an apology for not seeing what you could do, for treating your intelligence like it was invisible." Emily just smiled. "I don't hold grudges. I just stopped waiting for people to see me." He nodded, slow, like he was finally learning something new. And that's the thing, isn't it? Sometimes you don't need to change the world, just the way people see you. Emily didn't shout, didn't demand attention. She just showed up and did the job better than anyone else in the room. Respect followed, and so did opportunity. So I gotta ask, have you ever felt invisible, then finally had someone recognize your worth? Do you think quiet strength can outshine the loudest voice? If Emily's story made you think twice about the people you see every day, let me know. Drop a comment, share where you're watching from, or tag someone who needs to hear this. Because sometimes the most important voice in the room is the one you almost missed.